Hello and welcome to today's webinar from LGC Axio Proficiency Testing. Thank you very much for joining us. It's an exciting topic for us today as we look at how we can all keep cannabis safe and with CBD in food and consumer products growing in their popularity and as an emerging sector. Now is a great time to take a good look at the current situation for the market and the industry. And of course, the testing that applies to said industry to meet regulations and changing environments. We are very lucky today to be joined by three members of the LGC Axio Proficiency Testing Scheme, and that includes Valerie, our Global Product Manager, Matthew, our Head of Technical Operations, and Savas, our Technical Development Manager. All three bring with them a great deal of experience in both Axio proficiency testing, but also in keeping pace with changing regulatory requirements and making sure that testing materials are available to support laboratories in these rapidly emerging industries and sectors that are almost being established at the same time as the capabilities are being built by companies and brands and laboratories around the world. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So firstly, thank you very much for joining. This is about you as much as it is about us. So with that in mind, we are hopeful for some time for some questions at the end of the webinar. To ask a question, please just submit a question using the function in GoToWebinar, and I will be able to address it at the end as best as we can, and we will share that with the speakers for their responses. So to get us started, I'd like to hand over to Valerie Badan, our Global Product Manager, and Valerie is going to introduce us to this brave new world. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Valerie. So Valerie, over to you.
Thank you, James. Yes, definitely a whole new world, which this cannabis and CBD world is. So the recent change in the legal status of cannabis and some cannabinoids around the world, well, even if we know that there are still many disparities between the different countries, but this change has led to the development of a battery of new products. The global cannabis market is expected to reach over $70 billion by 2027. A particular cannabinoid, the cannabidiol or CBD, has been the subject of particular interest, and today it has become a very popular additive for many food but also non-food products. CBD is just one of over 100 cannabinoids that have been identified in cannabis. It's one of the most popular because it's believed to have some positive effects on certain disorders and pains without the disadvantage of psychoactive effects. Just one word about the different varieties of cannabis. The cannabis genus has only one species, Cannabis indica, but the species is subdivided into three different subspecies, Sativa, Indica, and Ruderalis, and they all have different expected levels of cannabinoids. It's a quite common mistake to think that hemp and marijuana are two different species of the plant. In fact, they are not. They are just two different names for cannabis. But if botanics doesn't make any clear distinction between the hemp and the marijuana, the law does make the difference. Legally, the key difference between hemp and marijuana is the tetrahydrocannabinol or THC content. The THC is one of the cannabinoids in the plant that have psychoactive effects, in other terms, the one that would make you high. In the US, the term hemp is used to mean cannabis that contains 0.3% or less of THC by dry weight, when marijuana would refer to cannabis with more than 0.3 THC content. In the European Union, the distinction is quite similar, but the limit of THC content is fixed at 0.2% instead of 0.3%, so 0.2% in the EU of the dried flower of the plant. So the cannabis plant will, by definition, contain many different cannabinoids at many different levels. The CBD is basically extracted from the cannabis flowers or leaves. A large variety of solvents can be used, some being relatively innocuous and some other being extremely critical. The exact condition of the extraction and the type of solvents that are used in the process will impact on the physical characteristics of the final product. Of course, in the case of CBD, many other plant components that are naturally present in the herbal material can be other cannabinoids, can be terpene, etc. So those components are co-extracted with the CBD, and they can be removed with additional treatment, such as one which is called winterization, where certain components of the product will precipitate at very low temperature and then will be removed by filtration. The quality of the extract will, in the end, depend on the quality of the extraction process, but there is always a risk that some non-desired cannabinoids or residual solvents are present in the final extract. The extract is then dissolved and in an edible oil. It can be sunflower, it can be hemp oil, olive oil, etc. And the cannabis oils may contain various concentrations of CBD, THC, and other cannabinoids. So the proportion will mostly depend on the cannabis variety that was used for the extraction. Unlike the main psychoactive constituent of cannabis, the delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol or THC, the CBD is a non-psychoactive cannabinoid. The CBD present in oils and other products usually comes from hemp because hemp will naturally contain higher CBD than marijuana. Cultivation of hemp is allowed in many countries around the world, but always under strict regulation. Hemp cultivation had been banned for decades in the US, and it has been reintroduced in the US only a few years ago. In the European Union, the cultivation of certain varieties of cannabis is authorized, provided that the varieties are registered in the EU, and of course that the THC content is no more than 0.2%. The majority of the CBD revenue comes from hemp-based products, and those hemp-based products are expected to contain very low or no THC. In many countries, any detectable trace of THC would be illegal, but some countries have decided to deal with those regulations in a quite pragmatic way. For instance, in the Netherlands, a maximum level of 0.05% of THC would be allowed in CBD products. So this approach is based on the fact that even the hemp varieties of cannabis will produce a small amount of THC, so it's very likely that the CBD extracts will contain some low level of THC. Analysis is therefore very important to accurately assess the levels of the different cannabinoids in the final products. Due to the limited stability of some cannabinoids, mostly the acidic forms, HPLC is the preferred technique for determination of broad spectrum products. The measurement of CBD concentration can be carried out using simple and fast extraction procedures for the determination of in a number of products. LC-MS would provide a more detailed identification of quantitative and qualitative content with lower limit of quantifications. Along with the growing popularity of the CBD, a variety of new products and formats have entered the market. This includes, for instance, capsules, skin creams, oil, tincture, solutions, a large variety of edibles, for instance, chocolate, chewing gum, candies, etc., drinks also, and now even pet food. The diversity of products and matrices represent a challenge for laboratories who may have implemented methods that are suitable for certain matrices, but not for the others. A word about novel foods. So novel foods are foods which have not been widely consumed by people in the European Union before May 1997. This means that those foods don't have what is called a history of consumption. Some products derived from cannabis sativa or plant parts such as the seeds, seed oil, hemp flour, etc. Those kind of products have a history of consumption in the EU, and therefore they are not considered as novel food. But the maximum CBD content in oil and in a product is constrained by the THC that can also be present in the plant used. So it is therefore quite attractive to add some purified CBD to boost the percentage of CBD advertised on the label. Unfortunately, the novel food catalogue of the EU states that the extracts of cannabis sativa in which CBD levels are higher than the CBD levels in the plant used are considered as novel foods. So any hemp extract that is enriched with pure CBD will make it considered as novel food products and must therefore undergo safety assessment prior to being marketed. This novel food status of CBD extract was confirmed in January 2019 by the Food Standard Agency. The regulation and guidance developed by EFSA set out what is needed in the application, and the EFSA guidance remains relevant in the UK now, as the approach is based on EU processes. As of March 2021, food businesses should apply for authorization of their CBD extract and isolates to be placed on the GB market using the new Food Standard Agency Regulated Products Application Service. Since early 2020, the Rapid Alert System for Food and Feed, so-called RASF, regularly issue alerts to inform about the presence of unauthorized CBD and or THC in various food and feed products. In the USA, novel foods are not defined in the same way as they are in the European Union. However, any new food ingredient is considered either as an additive and therefore requires a pre-market approval by the US Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, or it falls in the generally recognized as safe or GRAS category for a specific use. Generally, this general recognition of safety is based upon the application of scientific data, information, methods that have been published. The GRAS notification to the FDA are voluntary, but FDA can also issue warning letters to companies if they sell products that contain CBD in a way that would violate the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. Just a few market data to illustrate this growing interest for CBD products. So the global CBD market was valued at $2.8 billion in 2020 and is expected to grow at a CAGR of 21.2% between 2021 and 2028, which means that it would reach a value over $13 billion in 2028. Asia Pacific is expected to be the fastest growing market over this period, especially in China. And China is the largest producer of hemp in Asia and in the world, and it produces nearly half of the world's hemp. So CBD is, without contest, a very fast growing market, which often goes with changing regulation and challenge and certainly a new and exciting playground for the scientific community. So we are fortunate to have had the green light from our partner, the NML, to share some very recent information on a CBD project that they organized earlier this year. And this is what Matthew will take us through.
Thank you, Valerie, for that introduction. Yeah, I'd like to look at some of the technical and analytical challenges around hemp and hemp products. And we are pleased that the government chemist and the NML facility that is supported by LGC has contributed some of their work on a related project to this webinar. So first, to touch on the project that's been operated by the government chemist, and clearly the increase in the use of these products and the frequency with which they're being marketed has caused a lot of potential concern that we don't exactly know what's in these products, and we don't exactly know the best way to analyze them. So the government chemist, as part of their horizon scanning activities, identified this need to look at hemp and CBD and THC analysis, and so it's been included in their program for the next, for the current 3 years, to look at the issues related to CBD in foods, to develop methodology that can be used by the government chemist to referee where there's disputes regarding analytical chemistry, and therefore to use that in their function as a referee to judge on cases of disputes. With regard to the UK, the FSA, the Food Standards Agency, confirmed novel food status on the 31st of March this year. And so clearly now there's a requirement that we need to look at methods which can reliably analyze CBD itself, but also associated controlled cannabinoids in these products. Clearly there are a number of challenges. One of the key challenges is the controlled drugs may well be present where CBD is being used. I think unless you're using a synthetic CBD material, you will always have a concentration of THC, with the idea being that if the extraction and purification is carried out correctly, that value will be pretty low. The challenges of just analysing those particular molecules is that obviously there are a wide range of cannabinoids in hemp, and they are very structurally similar to CBD and pose a lot of challenges in terms of analysis. We want to make sure that the methods are reproducible, so that we're getting the same value each day if we're analysing the same material. We want to look at traceability, so the availability of good quality, high quality reference standards is key to make sure that we are quantifying and in some cases identifying correctly. We need to look at matrix interferences. I think Valerie has hinted at the range of products that are coming to the market, and it's that which provides a real challenge. These are complex plant materials to start off with, but then when you start adding base materials and oils and various other, you create a real analytical challenge for the laboratories. And because they're natural materials, you may not get consistent formulation. It may be that your extract varies from batch to batch. It may be that some of the matrices that are included vary from batch to batch. So there's a lot of things that can change with regard to the actual materials themselves. One of the things that's been an issue in the UK is the way that the law has been applied regarding cannabis, and that's meant that it's been a real challenge to set appropriate analytical limits for controlled cannabinoids. The law, as it states, that only 1 milligram of THC can be included in a packaged material, but clearly that makes a huge difference in terms of the analytical capability required if you're looking at a 10 ml vial of pure CBD, a large consignment of pure CBD, which may be many grams, or a food supplement which contains CBD. So the analytical challenges to try and support the legislation are very difficult. Part of the GC, the government chemist laboratory project, was to produce methodology which could be then distributed to laboratories who had a requirement for this kind of testing. So potentially regulatory labs, labs who are carrying out checks for customs, etc., may have a need for a specific and robust method for measurement of CBD. So the government chemist has been developing methods, and they're now publicly available after January 21. So that's for the determination of CBD in novel foods. So in effect, determining whether the product meets the stated concentration, but then also the determination of controlled cannabinoids in novel foods and cosmetics. So that's determination of things which are not necessarily designed to be in the product, but are there as contaminants, and usually at very significantly lower levels. In support of the use of these methods that have been developed, a ring trial or interlaboratory trial was run by the government chemist. So the methods were provided to the labs if required, and if not, they used their own methods. And it was for the determination of CBD and controlled cannabinoids in novel foods and cosmetics. The samples themselves were commercially sourced, so these are products that are already on the market. One was a hemp food oil, another was just a food oil containing CBD, so it's not derived from the oil itself was not derived from hemp, and another was an oil containing CBD that was being used for cosmetic purposes. In total, 35 labs took part, 16 from the UK and 19 international labs. The work has been completed and the results are now being analysed, with preliminary results presented at the end of March. And when it's completed, the report will be published on the government chemist website. The next part of the government chemist program is to maintain collaboration, so to set up groups to ensure that the knowledge around the analysis of cannabis and related products is maintained. So UCAS has, that's the United Kingdom Accreditation Service, has a food product approval awareness expert group. So that's a group who are looking at the sort of whole of the industry and seeing where these where they can input into the use and the production of these products. And then there's a group consisting of the FSA, UCAS, LGC and FERA to look at the need for the production of a best practice measurement guide for CBD. There's been a number of trials run which suggest that not all methods always give the same answer, and I think where we can pick up methods of best practice and where we can pick up the most effective steps for, say, extraction and analysis, this group will be invaluable. So that's a look at the specific risks and the specific work being undertaken in the UK by the government chemist. Although clearly there is an international flavour to some of the work, including the ring trial. But what I want to now look at is some of the ongoing challenge in the real world with products which are already out there and that we've seen reported on in various publications. In 2017, there was a very interesting Dutch study which was looking at actual and claimed cannabinoid content, so for CBD and THC, of 21 oil samples which had been purchased. it was found that 9 of the 16 samples were different, had a different concentration of CBD, which was 70% higher or lower than the stated claim. They found that 9 of the 13 samples had a THC content that was 60% higher or lower than claimed, and actually that 7 samples, despite the label claim, didn't contain any CBD or THC. So this, a similar kind of work, and a further focus on the contamination of CBD products with THC was carried out in Germany in 2019. And it was found that of the food grade CBD products which were obtained for the survey, 25% of them contained levels of THC which would be above the lowest observed adverse effects level, which is 2.5 milligrams per day. So this is a very significant issue, and their findings have echoed a case of a few months prior in which a commercial CBD oil was given to a pediatric patient, and that was found to be contaminated with a dangerous synthetic cannabinoid, also known by street name spice. So the actual content of these products is really critical. In addition to whether there's undesirable additional content in there, one of the things that affects consumers most significantly is whether it actually includes as much CBD as is expected. And various people have carried out testing on this, and summarising in The Guardian in 2019, Mike Power suggested that the industry was taking the consumers for a ride, since more than half of the most popular CBD oils in the UK did not contain the level of CBD promised on the label. Many of them were provided at low concentrations with what was identified as guesstimated doses measured in drops, and not actually including more than a few milligrams of active ingredient. So I think this this rapid growth of the CBD industry and the range of materials that have come to market in such a short time means that it's been very difficult to police. Experts at LGC's recent Measurement Matters Symposium suggested that differing legislation in different territories, different parts of the world, in the US, different states, etc., really make this industry extremely difficult to regulate. And where you have those areas where regulations are complex and vary from place to place, this often allows fraudsters to flourish, and for people to be provided with products which are either harmful or don't meet the specifications that they should do. We're hoping, and change is coming. In the UK, for example, businesses who wish to continue to sell foods containing CBD had until the 31st of March to submit a novel food authorization application. So that's passed, and I know there have been a number of applications completed, and other countries around the world are carrying out the same kind of exercises and ensuring that legislation quickly comes up to speed with the products as they're being developed. It's, as we said, it's a complicated issue in terms of regulation, and further challenges have been provided by a recent ruling in the European Court of Justice, who suggested that cannabidiol extracted from the cannabis plant should not be considered a drug. So those kind of decisions open the door, and regulations open the door for people to exploit potential loopholes in the law. But what we're also seeing is that other companies are taking the initiative and trying to enforce rules and regulations through their through their financial platforms, such as Amazon, who are now requiring that supplements marketed and sold on their website come with a certificate of analysis. And that certificate of analysis is required to ensure that the products are correct, but also the labs who are providing these certificates of analysis must be part of third-party certification programs. So that could include things like informed choice or informed sport from LGC. So there is definitely a will to try and make changes in these areas. So in the latest information for the UK and for the EU, in the EU in February 21, a key market regulator in the European Union has updated its guidelines, which includes plant-derived CBD as a legal ingredient in cosmetics. This is a change, and I guess reflects back to the analytical difficulties that we have with the concentrations of THC. Previously, only synthetic CBD was listed in the database and therefore was allowed, because CBD that was prepared synthetically would not contain significant traces of the other controlled cannabinoids, whereas plant extracts will always contain a certain amount. So that's again allowed people to introduce products which could contain THC to the market, but it's further complicating matters. The European Commission has added CBG as a safe ingredient, so a related cannabinoid for skin conditioning, to its database, and regulators have listed now plant-derived CBD as a skin protectant and conditioner, noting its function as an antioxidant. So we're seeing a mixture of regulation to control CBD, but also authorization for its use in various capacities. So what I'd like to do now is to pass you to my colleague Savas, who will tell you something about the quality control programs that have been operated within Axio to support the CBD testing industry and where they may be going in the future.
Thank you, Matthew. So you can move on. Yeah, so in order to ensure that those products that Matthew and Valerie described in their slides, they remain in circulation and they are in the market, they are safe, it is vital for laboratories to be able to independently verify the content of CBD and other cannabinoids. And in order to do that, they need to participate in quality assurance schemes or tools like proficiency testing. The primary objective of participating in proficiency testing is to help assess the validity of the laboratory's routine testing. The newly developed methods, sometimes they produce reliable and accurate results. And actually, their results are, we can say that they are axio, so they are worthy, from the Greek word axio, which means worthy. And the labs can demonstrate their competency, compare it with peers around the world, and participate in these PT programs regularly. Categorization of products is difficult sometimes because of the variety of products that exist. And in the future, we might have a wider variety. But essentially, the products could fall into a number of broad categories: novel foods, medicine, cosmetics, and others. So the potential analytical difficulties depend on the matrix. The analysis can be challenging because different methods might give different results, or a method developed for one matrix it doesn't work for another matrix, or the extraction method might be an issue as well. So the variety of matrices in which CBD has been included, they add difficulty to the analysis. For example, analyzing CBD in cookies would be more challenging than analyzing CBD in gummies because of the high fat content, carbohydrates, proteins as well. To date, the quality control material and proficiency testing samples, they hardly cover the wide field of possible matrices. So in 2020, Axio Proficiency Testing introduced its first CBD in supplements PT sample. The sample was a broad spectrum tincture that was manufactured to contain 5% weight per volume of CBD. The participants were asked to determine the CBD content and choose the method used on our portal. As I said, the material was manufactured to contain 5% CBD, so it was used. It was purchased by a retailer from a single batch, production batch. 78 of the 18 participants returned the results that were assessed as satisfactory. The assigned value was in good agreement with the was 4.72% and 4.72%, and it was in good agreement with the median of the participant results. The SDPA was based on the participant data and was calculated from the robust standard deviation of the data returned. The majority, as you can see in the table, the majority of participants returned results by using HPLC. 15 out of 18, 2 used GC, and 1 they didn't specify which method they used. Interestingly, no one reported results by using LC-MSMS. So Axio is expanding the offer for cannabinoids from consumer testing into food products. So a CBD in gummies sample was introduced in the QFCS scheme in order to meet the growing demand from laboratories doing analysis of cannabinoids in food matrices. The sample will be first available in our QFCS scheme on the 14th of June 2021. It's sample 849. 3 gummies are provided to each participant, supplied as 3 vacuum sealed gummies, and the participants are asked to report the CBD content. And back to you, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabas. Yeah, I think so. It's been a great insight from our 3 speakers today around an emerging industry and seeing the role of testing to try and shine a light on CBD related products hitting the market. It's clear that there are a number of challenges ranging from industry challenges to regulatory ones, and certainly somewhere in amongst all that there is the methodological challenge for analysing these products, given that they come in such a vast range of matrices and product category types. I would just like to draw attention to the fact that in terms of Axio proficiency testing, we are starting to offer an increased number of samples in this area, as you might expect, and we're finding the results of kind of first rounds, but also initial testing to be really interesting. We think that we can play a key part in supporting laboratories testing these kind of products. So you've heard today about our CBD and food sample in the matrix of a gummy, and you've also you may have picked up on the fact that we have a CBD in supplement sample utilizing an oil or material matrix. So those are two key areas in the food sector, but the broader cannabis portfolio stretches beyond. There is a great deal of product exploration going on worldwide for cannabis-related products and CBD-related products, but it is worth having a quick look at our cannabis PT scheme, which looks at various areas of testing, and it takes an industry-wide look at the cannabis evolution, and it's how we can support you in the various different range of analysis for active ingredients. Those active ingredients include terpenes, mycotoxins, elements, pesticides, salmonella, and of course microbiological quality. So if you are involved heavily with cannabis-related products, it is well worth taking a look at what we can do to support you from a proficiency testing point of view. We would always say that we're your perfect partners in proficiency testing, and we say that because today isn't just about hearing from us and about our products. We're really keen to hear from you about the challenges you're facing and potentially the different products that you are encountering or working with. We can pride ourselves on staying one step ahead of the industries hitting the market, but we really need to work very closely in partnership with our customers to do that. Just in case you're unaware, proficiency testing can play a key role in your quality management system. It's a really important tool in ensuring that your laboratory performance is consistent, and it can ensure that measurements are accurate and reliable. So you may be aware of the international standard ISO IEC 17025, and indeed your laboratory may indeed pursue accreditation to that international standard. If that is the case, you may note that PT is specified in that standard as a key external quality assessment tool, and it's definitely something that can support your laboratory if you are analysing CBD related products, and it can do that in a number of different ways. Those different ways include fulfilling the aforementioned accreditation requirements, but those accreditations could also be local government requirements, they could be industry specific, as well as these big international standards. Proficiency testing can play a key role in demonstrating your competency quickly in order to achieve those accreditation levels. That demonstration of competency also extends to your customers, your stakeholders, your end users, and of course regulatory bodies. So PT is a great way of putting down on paper or on digital and certainly in data that you are a competent laboratory with confidence in your quality control methods. You can compare your results with laboratories around the world, and I think this is particularly important in this industry. As both Valerie and Matthew outlined near the start of this webinar, the emergence of this industry around the world has been challenging, and that means that each different territory is tackling it differently. We're seeing different product groups emerging out of different localities around the world. And that means that the work that you're doing in one country may have correlation to work being done on the other side of the world. And so PT, and specifically Axio proficiency testing as a international provider, is a great way of comparing those results with your peers wherever they are. And so that means that, you know, if you're looking for influence and guidance based on a wider set of information than is available to you locally, proficiency testing is a great way of doing so. You can manage risk through early warning of potential problems. So when you get your results back from your PT round, it is a really good opportunity to see any potential irregularities or inconsistencies. And that allows you to tackle at an early stage any problems you might have with product quality or with testing quality. It's a great tool for verifying methods and instrumentation. And finally, to ensure that not just your instrumentation is doing exactly what you want it to, but so are your staff, and making sure that they are used to working with samples as close to the real world examples as you would hope for. In an industry such as this, where everything is emerging so quickly, PT is a really great way of making sure that everybody is staying as close as possible to the most recent methods, samples, and matrices. Particularly, Axio proficiency testing as part of the LGC family has been leading the direction of PT or proficiency testing for over 40 years. We have prided ourselves on being experts in the industry, global leaders in the industry, and we do that by ensuring our participation in both specific industry committees, bodies, focus groups, etc., but also in terms of the proficiency testing best practices and the latest information available to us as a provider. So we consider ourselves to be influencers as well as listeners. And so as a result, we design our schemes to meet your future needs. So yes, we can support anything you're doing currently, but if you are looking at, for instance, incorporating new methods or new testing disciplines or indeed new products or matrices, then we want to hear from you, because chances are we can support you in your upcoming challenges and needs as well. So ultimately, yes, it's about delivering a quality product, whether that's on behalf of yourselves or on behalf of your customers. But also it's a chance to meet sector-specific standards or achieve accreditation, as mentioned before. We always say that we believe that great measurement results are born out of confidence. And that confidence in your own work is something that we're really invested in and something that we care about deeply. So by working with us, you can always have assurance that your decision making is informed, reliable, and effective. We're here to work with you to make sure you get the best out of your laboratory testing. So we're coming to the end of our presentation today. So what I do want to do is point you in the direction of our website, which is lgcstandards.com/Axio. On this website, you will discover not just our range of products, and of course, if you search for your target analytes, or for instance for cannabis or cannabidiol or CBD, you will find the Axio products and proficiency testing schemes available to you. But you will also find reference materials as well. So whatever your testing needs are, or whatever your laboratory quality control needs are, it's well worth paying a visit to our website. Also on our website is some of our latest thoughts. You know, we do try and get some interesting articles out there, so it's well worth looking at our website to discover the latest one, for example, on demand is high, but are foods containing CBD safe? That article features some of the information you've heard today and more besides, so please do pay a visit and take a read. So as I mentioned, you can discover more at our website. Please do get in touch with us with any of your needs or questions at axio@lgcgroup.com. Similarly, we do support our customers all around the world. So if you look on our website and our contact us page, and you will be able to reach a local contact. So if you would like to speak to somebody in your specific market, you are able to do so. I encourage you to join our online community if you haven't done so already, which is on LinkedIn and on Twitter. Just search for LGC Axio or Axio Proficiency Testing, and you'll find us. We share the latest on both our products, our articles, our webinars, and our white papers, all on there. So please do join us. We have a lot to say, but more importantly, we have a number of ears that are really keen to listen. So it would be great to hear from you on those platforms. So we are at the end of our presentation, but now is a great chance to have a quick look at some questions. So we do have three very talented members of our team here in Valerie, Matthew, and Savas. So hopefully between us we can field some questions. We have one really great question by the looks of it from Emma. So let me just quickly read this out to everybody. With workplace drug testing, we are finding that more and more people are using CBD oil as their reasoning for THC positive results. The Dutch study backs up the idea that what people believe they are taking may not actually be what they are taking. Do we have any thoughts on how we think workplaces should advise staff regarding CBD products for those undergoing workplace drug tests? I think that's a really interesting question, and potentially quite a tricky one from a legal and regulatory standpoint. But you know, Matthew, do you have any take on what workplaces should do about CBD products?
I do. I mean, my personal perspective would be to just advise caution, promote awareness of the possibility that some of these products can contain THC and can contain THC in levels that are significant. I think from that point, it's a question of how you're obtaining the product and how those products have been certified and validated. And I guess that's a lot of the work that is being done both by the government chemists and by ourselves, is ensuring that people know that the products are what they say they are. And if you have something that has a particularly low level of THC because it's been produced to a high standard, then really that shouldn't then go on to cause issues with workplace drug testing, because the levels of THC will be sufficiently low that it shouldn't trigger positive results. But definitely awareness would be the key factor for me, I think.
Thanks, Matthew. Yeah, I think, from just to back that up a little bit, I think the role of laboratories worldwide, but also supporting organizations such as Axio Proficiency Testing, is essentially, at the moment we are facing regulatory challenges. There's a lack of clarity, but all this work is about driving that clarity. So all I can do is really reinforce Matthew's take there, which is at the moment it's about urging caution, and all of our work as a global scientific community needs to be around ensuring consumers get maximum visibility, maximum assurance, and can rely on particularly things like labeling of products. It's an area that we've been used to for many years in terms of food and beverage, and really now this is the brave new world of CBD in consumer products. So at the moment, it's about urging caution, making sure awareness is of the material, for instance, that we've shared today is out there. But I think the future is the community coming together to ensure clarity. So linked to that clarity, our next question is there any international regulation of CBD content in food? I think, Savas, this could be one for you. Are you aware of, at this moment in time, any international regulations around CBD content in food?
I'm not, and I'm not sure what exactly we mean by international, like a standard. I'm not aware, but we can look into it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes in many industries we see the Codex guidance coming out, don't we, that speaks to kind of international guidance. I mean, do we think there's an equivalent of this in place yet, or coming out soon?
I am not aware of something, but we can look into it and reply appropriately.
Yeah, just to comment, I'm not aware either of international regulation for CBD, and just not sure there is one. This is not a control product, so there are clearly some regulation for controlled cannabinoids and controlled substances in general, but CBD being recognized as a non-controlled substance, I'm not I'm not aware of any such regulation either, but we can check certainly.
And can I also just say that Codex are just standards, so they're not regulations, they're just voluntary standards. But as I said, we can look into it.
Yeah, so Paula, I think the answer is, at this moment in time, there certainly isn't a wide awareness of any international regulation, certainly. I think one of the messages from today's webinar that I think we're keen for people to take away is that at the moment there are gaps in regulations and standards worldwide, and really bred from key differences in different countries and localities. So I think really one of the key things that we would say is it's about the responsibility of laboratories, amongst others, to work to explore this and understand the products that are hitting the market as much as it is to control them. It's about understanding them and understanding how we can best protect consumers. Matthew, just a quick one on this. Would it be fair to say that things like the work of the government chemist that we were able to share today are the kind of things that feed into international conversations, and then it almost ladders up into guidance on an international level?
Absolutely. The work of the government chemist is to try and derive the UK position to get enough knowledge that decisions can be made in the UK with confidence, and then clearly those same kind of decisions will be replicated in other countries, using evidence that's been garnered both in the UK and in other parts of the world. So it all feeds into the knowledge base, which at the minute is pretty sparse for some things.
Yeah, I think just to close this one out, I think one of the most interesting things from today's presentation is this drive from consumer-facing giants such as Amazon. So Amazon have started playing a role in placing demands on CBD-based products that they are selling through their platform, and I think that will, of course, push certain producers into a certain direction, and potentially this is the beginning of regulations for consumer controls for things like CBD in food. I mean, that was about supplements, but it's not a big stretch to say that eventually, as we move into food, that those are the kind of things that are going to be the key drivers and energy behind incoming regulation and control. Okay, in that case, thank you very much. We are reaching the end of the session here, so I am keen to make sure that we finish on time. So I would just like to end today's session by saying thank you very much for joining us. Again, this is about you as much as it is about us. So thank you. Please do share with us any of your challenges and needs. Any further questions, get in touch with us on both our website and via social media or email. And really, finally, I'd like to say a very, very big thank you to Valerie, Matthew, and Savas for their time. So thank you very much, guys, for all attending.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And in that case, take care, everybody. Thank you very much for joining, and we will see you on our next webinar. Thank you, and take care. Bye-bye.